till the end, okay, when he had to say, hey, I got to let my body heal. Will Levis, to me, forget the turnovers. You got to make plays. You know, turnovers happen when you got to force plays. Tennessee game 3 picks. They're behind. What's the difference? You lose 30-0 or you lose 50-0, right? So Will Levis, to me, is the guy who may not be the first quarterback taken, but will be the best quarterback out of this draft. And we've seen that over the years. Guys that are the best quarterbacks aren't always the first or even the second quarterback taken in the first round that particular year.
Hold on. Are you telling me you got Will Levis better than Bryce Young? Is that what you just, I mean,
Correct.
I just want to make sure. Is that what you're telling me? That Bryce Young out of Alabama, this man is inferior to Will Levis? Is that what you're telling me, Mel Kiper Jr.? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say inferior. I said they're right there. They're close. The one thing that bothers me, and it bothers everybody I talk to, is you don't know. There's always outliers, but there's never been in the history of the draft, and I'm going back 45 years for me, a quarterback 5'10 to 5'11, about 185 to 190, going this high in the draft and expecting him to be a franchise quarterback. I hope Bryce Young will be, but he doesn't have the howitzer for an arm. He doesn't have the 4.5 speed, and he's undersized, okay? I don't care about the height. I care about the weight. Holding up and withstanding punishment and staying healthy and durable and being able to finish seasons for Bryce Young will be the issue. I have him still going to the Colts at 4. It's not like I've been in the 4th round, but in terms of the number one quarterback for me, the guy that looks the part and played like a big-timer when he got some help was Will Levis from Kentucky.
Yeah, I agree with that from a physicality standpoint, Mel. I agree with that. But here's my problem with Levis compared to Bennett and compared to Stroud and Young. Stroud played great against Georgia. I love the game, so I understand that.
Yep.
Where did Levis, with the season on the line in a big game, ever take his team down the field and win a big football game with pressure? I've seen Stroud do it. And I have certainly seen Young do it. Young, how about that drive a couple years ago against Auburn when he went 98 yards down the field to win the game? Yeah. How about a scenario against Georgia when he had nobody and he was competitive? I have seen Young in tricky spots play like a championship quarterback, and we've seen Stroud do it against Georgia January 2nd. He got or New Year's Eve, I should say. He played great in that game. Where have I ever seen? I don't care what he did against Vanderbilt. Where have I ever seen Will Levis get the ball with a minute 40 to go and have to go downfield against a good team, 80 yards, one timeout to win a game? I've never seen it. And I've seen Young and Stroud do it. That does bother me.
When I see Levis, Mel, I think about Zach Wilson. That's just me. But go ahead.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, I don't see Zach Wilson. In fact, comps stink. Okay, I hate comps. Everybody's got to compare everybody to somebody. You don't like them, you compare them to somebody that was a bust. If you love them, you compare them to a Hall of Famer. Eliminate comps. Comps are a joke. Okay, they're never accurate. Once in 100 might be. In terms of Will Levis, he did against Georgia. He's completing passes. They're outmanned. Okay, against LSU, he's lighting it up. He played against good teams. He was 10-3 as a junior. 10-3. 9 rushing touchdowns, 23 passing touchdowns, without a lot of 5 stars around him. Okay, this year he's got nothing in front of him. He's got guys in his face every time he chops back. He gets hurt, multiple injuries, okay? He's out there playing. He's playing in a pro offense for multiple coordinators, one of which Liam Cohen just came back from the Rams, was there, left for the Rams, back at Kentucky. It's not going to help Will Levis this year because he's gone. But again, I think when you look at him physically, he's got it. The production was there when he had help. Even this year, I'll give you an example, Doug. Mississippi State game. Emmanuel Forbes, who's going to be a first-round corner at Mississippi State, picks off a bubble screen, goes the distance, pick 6 against Will Levis. Seconds or minutes later, he comes back on the field, energy in the huddle, down the field 80 yards for a touchdown. That's what you have, a short memory. He's got that. He's dealt with adversity. He hasn't had pitch and catch scenarios and 5 stars all over the place, and he's dealt with that and he's won. Will Levis, to me, yes, he's not perfect. There's things he's got to clean up. But in terms of this draft, when you got an undersized quarterback who's an outlier, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, who's very raw, I'm going to bet on Will Levis. It's not by a lot, guys. So I still think Young and Stroud will be there in the top 10 to the first round. And Richardson's going to be in top 10 to 15, too, which I think shocks everybody. We can get to him in a little bit. But like I said, I'm betting on Will Levis. I bet on Josh Allen, and nobody liked him. Yeah, Herbert was the 3rd quarterback taken when he came out. Yeah, I can go down the line. There's a lot of quarterbacks. Stafford went #1. I like Stafford. People were criticizing Stafford when he came out. He still went #1, and they were criticizing him during his career until he wins a Super Bowl. So for me, Will Levis will have critics because a lot of people don't like him. And what happens is, guys, when you don't like him, you hate him until he proves you're wrong. And that usually never happens because nobody wants to give it up. So for Will Levis, he's going to have to battle the naysayers probably throughout the first 5-6 years of his career.
Well, first of all, I'm not throwing out. I'm aghast at the position that you're taking, throw out comps. I've learned comps from you, Mel Kiper Jr. Most of the stuff that we learn about college football is from the great Mel Kiper. I've been watching you throw comps out for decades. You dissect and analyze better than anybody on the planet.
I was forced to.
Come on, now. We learned it from you. Now, let me ask you this, though. Stetson Bennett the fourth. I mean, I got it right. Is it the third or the fourth? I think it's the fourth. Stetson Bennett, the reigning 2-time national champion for the Georgia Bulldogs. What do you think about him? Talk to us about your thoughts about him, particularly compared to the quarterbacks that you're projecting to be in this draft. Tell us about him for a second here.
Interesting guy. Nobody can really give you any answer on Stetson Bennett except that, hey, if Bryce Young's going to go in the top 5, where's Stetson Bennett going to fall? This guy wins games. He's a gutty competitor. He had guys leaving that program after last year. This year, no fallback. He didn't have all the pieces he had back in 2021 this season, yet he still leads his team to a national title. I think when you look at that next tier, Jake Haener from Fresno State's another guy. Doesn't have the great size, but all he does is win. He'll draw comparisons, guys. You want to come to Drew Brees, throw that out. Doesn't mean anything because we're always going to look at that 6-foot quarterback and say if he's accurate, he's Drew Brees. So for me, Jake Haener, Stetson Bennett are in that next tier of quarterbacks. You know, people say, who's the next Brock Purdy? Now everybody's going to be looking for the next Brock Purdy. Good luck trying to find that guy, okay? So again, Stetson Bennett to me will probably end up being about a 3rd-round draft choice.
Mel,
Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, and Justin Jefferson. Nice to see a non-quarterback in there. Obviously, Jefferson had one of the great seasons we've ever seen from a wide receiver in NFL history. Let's bring it out and talk about it. Dominique Foxworth, I'm giving you the first vote.
Yeah. Well, Jefferson, it's nice to see him in there, but he doesn't stand a chance. I would love for a non-quarterback to win it, but I think it's easy. It's Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
Yeah, what he's done, the job that he's done is remade a team. They're winning in a different way. All those other quarterbacks are very good, but we're kind of seeing them on their first run. And Patrick Mahomes has had better numbers than them, and offensively has been better than them in a recreation of this offense. And I think that's incredibly impressive. We always talk about how a team's going to continue to win once they start playing their quarterback. Mahomes did do a flexible deal for them, but it's still really impressive without Tyreek Hill. And with a paid quarterback, they rebuilt the offensive line, and he's finding a way to still cook no matter what.
I think that was the real thing. Everyone coming into the season, well, what would the Kansas City Chiefs offense look without Tyreek Hill? They haven't missed a beat. No doubt. They haven't missed a beat. And big reason why is the quarterback. The quarterback played outstanding. I think he's going to be the runaway winner of the MVP award.
Simply put, he's a standard. He is the best quarterback. And we do end up discounting what Patrick Mahomes can do because he makes it look easy, but we should not do it. What he's been able to do with this offense, with these players, it is impressive.
Yeah, I'm not discounting what he can do. This is his 5th straight conference championship game that he's hosting at home. They might as well rename the AFC Championship game the Pat Mahomes Invitational.
Yeah.
But, I think Pat Mahomes is going to ultimately end up winning it, but it's a shame that Jalen Hurts got hurt in Week 15 in Chicago because I thought he was on pace to win the MVP. He had 35 total touchdowns to only 8 turnovers. Greeny, over the last 5 years, there's only been 3 quarterbacks to have more total touchdowns in the same amount of turnovers or less. That's Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and Lamar Jackson. All of those guys got MVP. It felt like it was Jalen Hurts to lose. Unfortunately, he's going to lose it on an injury.
His season needs to be celebrated. And I think also Joe Burrow, what he's accomplished so far needs to be celebrated. But we need to stop short of saying that if he wins this weekend, he going to overtake, because I'm not going to name any names or point any fingers, but somebody earlier in the show suggested that if Joe Burrow won this weekend, that he then becomes the best quarterback in the league. That there is absurd, because Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback.
Let me say it this way. Let me say it this way. There's levels to this, right? There's tiers to this. Pat Mahomes and Joe Burrow, tier 1. In a separate room by themselves. Now, when you start having that tier 2 conversation, it gets interesting. Josh Allen and Justin Herbert, all of those names get tossed around in there. For me, the top guy in tier 2 has got to be Jalen Hurts. And I think that was the clearest thing we learned on divisional round weekend.
I know you looking crazy and stuff like that, but that boy from Cincinnati is a stone cold killer.
Yeah.